to this video about the North Node in Gemini and the South Node in Sagittarius. This video is part of a series that we're doing about the nodes in the signs. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mijas in San Francisco.
And today we are talking about what it means when you have the North Node in Gemini and the South Node in Sagittarius. And we're calling this one Stop Roaming and Become a Scholar. The nodes speak of your destiny. The North Node speaks of the direction that you need to head in this lifetime so that you can become more of, so that you can evolve more powerfully and become the person that you really need to be. Whereas the South Node speaks to how do you move on from the past? How can you let go of the things that are holding you back from past lives, which you may be really, really good at, but don't necessarily want to do in this lifetime because they will hold you back. Julia, what thoughts do you have just in general, real quick, about the general meanings of the South and North nodes?
Yeah, the South Node usually, and the sign that it's in, usually describes something that just feels very comfortable to you. It just feels like old hat. You're really, really aware of those energies. You understand the energies, and it feels safe and comfortable. And there can be some benefits to whatever the South Node represents, because you can bring those lessons into this lifetime. However, if you just keep staying there, in your comfort zone for too long, then you miss out on personal growth. And the North Node describes sort of the vector of personal growth that will really aid you in your personal evolution.
Yes, that's right. So when it comes to the North Node and Gemini specifically, what that means is that letting go of the South Node in Sagittarius is to let go of a past life talent that you may have built at seeing the big picture, which comes from lifetimes of roaming and traveling and also colonization, like exploring other cultures, possibly from the point of view of an invader, or also just for the pure joy of understanding how other people live. You may yearn to travel in this life, but it's really important to settle down and get to know just one region, because that constitutes moving forward into your North Node in Gemini. You must let go of generalizing and glossing over the details and instead embrace facts, logic, become more rational, and learn to use your mind for the gathering, processing, and communicating of ideas in detail, looking at the small. You may have a built-in talent for seeing the big picture, but you may have some lingering past life habits around generalizing, making assumptions, jumping to conclusions, acting more out of faith and less out of rational thought. So it's good to regale others with your opinion less and converse more. It's good to let go of the opinionated big voice, the broadcasting voice within you that may at times be pompous, shouty, or overbearing, and instead use your small voice, which is more personal, conversational, and to practice the back and forth of real communication. So North Node in Gemini needs to become a roundhouse for ideas to come and go, taking in ideas, processing them in your mind, and then voicing them back out into the world. So finding your voice is a really important idea for North Node in Gemini. And to illustrate this, I want to show you the charts of a couple of people who exemplify the North Node in Gemini. And that's mainly because they are both writers. Beginning with this one. Maya Angelou, who really changed the game for Black female writers, allowing those who followed to place their experiences and characters at the center of a story instead of at the margins. She stopped speaking after being raped at the age of 8 and went mute for 5 years out of a fear that her voice was too powerful because she told the name of her attacker and then he was murdered, possibly by her family members. After that period of muteness, her voice ultimately emerged and opened the way for the Black female voice in general and for others to follow. She expanded the genres of autobiography and the memoir. So you can see that she has the South Node here in Sagittarius and the North Node here in Gemini. Julia, do you want to add anything to my thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, just off the bat, just amazing with Gemini is so associated with writing. It's just, you know, kind of interesting because, and like you said, finding the voice, but, and through sort of Gemini activity, she was able to do that. So that was very much how she was living into her North Node.
Yes, absolutely. The other writer that I want to tell you about is Colette. And I actually want to show you 2 charts for Colette because her North Node is covers 2 different signs, and that's because of the difference between whether you use the true node or the mean node. I use the true node, and by that measure, you can see that she has the North Node here in Gemini, in 0 degrees, right in the very beginning of Gemini, and in a moment, I'll pull up her North Node in Taurus chart, which is at 29 degrees of Taurus. So I'll say something about that in a minute. But what I want to say about Colette is that she actually started out her writing career as a journalist, which is kind of a Sagittarian South Node approach because journalism is ruled by Sagittarius and it has to do with reporting stories about events in the world at large. She wrote sensual fiction that was borderline autobiographical under her husband's pen name and was an overnight sensation. He made her continue to write. He forced her to write, actually locked her in a room until she wrote. And while eventually she was credited for her world-shaking stories, she never was paid for them. Also, her nodes in Taurus and Scorpio, which I'll show you in a minute, really highlight the hedonistic nature of her writing and her lifestyle. Julia, do you have thoughts about Colette's North Node in Gemini here in the 8th house and South Node in Sag?
Well, the 8th house North Node, I mean, 8th house is a very sexual, very dark, very mysterious, very sultry and sensual. In fact, both the 2nd and 8th house axis is a very sensual axis. So yeah, so that absolutely just like plays into her biography as in terms of what her lasting legacy was, you know. So I didn't know that those details about how abusive her husband was and that she didn't get, I mean, no surprise, you know, for working women back then, but how that she didn't even have access to her own money. However, how we remember her is very much in that 8th house context and in a positive form of that 8th house context, you know, doing something creative with the 8th house that other people can enjoy and maybe help them connect to their own personal 8th houses more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the North Node seen in Gemini and in the 8th house explains a lot why she didn't depart from a South Node in Scorpio entirely. And I would think if seen through the lens of the mean node and viewed as a South Node in Scorpio person, it would probably make sense for her to depart from sexuality more than she actually did. But the North Node being in the 8th house suggests that approaching sexuality and featuring that in her writing was pro-evolutionary for her, actually. Well, that's the stuff that we have for you today about the nodes. Hope you enjoyed it. You can find this video on our website, pandoraastrology.com. You can find it on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology in the April 2022 news playlist. And next month, we'll release another video about the North Node in Cancer. And I look forward to seeing you then. And we'll see you around the cosmos like we do.
Bye-bye.